How you doing? So I played in the last monthly Ringwood Highlander. Well, it was this month. It was just on Sunday. It was 4 rounds, cut to top 4. It was me and Tim Hughes in the final, and I recorded it just because I happened to have my recording gear with me. Yeah, I'll just commentate it by myself because it's too hard to organise someone else to come commentate with me. Hopefully you enjoy the matches. I think we played pretty tight, so enjoy. Here we go. Okay, so I'm on the right, Tim Hughes on the left. I didn't really prepare this very well, and there wasn't the best location for recording in terms of light, so you'll notice the window just shining directly behind Tim's face. That'll cause a bit of glare, and the camera may not be able to focus as well as I'd like, but hopefully you can still make out the cards. It's entertaining to watch. It was a good day. I think I beat Glenn Shanley in the semi-final. He was playing his classic red control deck, and I'm playing against Tim now. Tim's on 4-colour Kurgan, I'd call it. He's playing white, just for a bit more value on his engineered explosives and help make his fetch lands a bit better. I'm pretty sure he's got some white spells. I know he's got Lingering Souls on the board and some other stuff that we'll no doubt see during this match. I think it's a pretty solid addition to Kurgan, adding the 4th colour. Getting some exile removal is quite strong. I'm scratching my head. I'm pretty sure there'll be a long delay between now and the match starting, so I might just skip ahead. I'm playing junk dudes, just like I had my green-white deck from my last Ringwood Highlander event that I covered, which I happened to win that one, which was pretty sweet. And I've since added black. Basically, with fetch lands in your mana base, you can just add the 3rd colour, and there's the same amount of coloured sources. It's just better, and you get 2 more fetch lands. You don't have to play like pain lands and such. So it's in Highlander, it's really like monocolour or 3-colour or 4-colour or 5-colour. There's no 2. Anyway, Tim's on the play because he finished up 3rd in Swiss and I finished up 4th in Swiss. It's a foil Snowcoat Island from Tim, and I lead with the Overgrown Tomb. I don't believe I mulliganed, so a nice even start. Tim lays out a Tundra. There's that white featured. I draw for the turn. I can see a green Zenith in my hand. Could go get a... or don't really want a Deathrite Shaman with no fetches, but Bird or Noble Hierarch's a good option. Or Dried Militant if I want to keep his Delve down, because I know Tim's playing Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise. This is actually pre-points change, so the points change announcement of Dig Through Time plus Treasure Cruise +1 and Grim Tutor -1 happened before this tournament, but such short notice that Andy Horn, the owner of the store, and TO decided to just run it at the old points list. I've played Temple Garden untapped, paying 2 life, down at 18. Spirit of Labyrinth, yep, that has to be answered by a nice set foil counterspell from Tim. Do love me a good foil. Spirit of Labyrinth would have been excellent against, Brainstorm, Treasure Cruise, Jason Mines Goblet. Absolute must answer for control decks. So Tim's just running out the engineered explosives here. This would indicate to me that he's either short on mana or he has no turn 2 play. Other than that, I mean, I can just not play 2-drops into this and out-tempo him. From memory, I think my hand is actually quite heavy on 2-drops. We'll see exactly what I play. So I'll lead with the Plains. That's a nice Odyssey one that I like. I've actually accumulated about 20 of those. They're pretty sweet. If you got some, ship them my way. I don't know what number of the set it is. Strangleroot Geist. Interplay tapped and attacking, apparently. So, pretty good against the engineered explosives, so I don't think Tim wants to spend the explosives just to kill that guy for him to come back bigger. You will notice I've got my Plains untapped there, even though Tim was tapped out, and last turn I played the Temple Garden untapped. And I remember I did have at least 3 lands in hand, so I paid 2 life unnecessarily there, which late game could come back to haunt me if he's racing me with a Creeping Tar Pit or something. Tim plays Breeding Pool tapped, So his hand must be full of expensive spells. I just saw a glimpse of a Jason Mind Sculptor there. So he's pretty glad he countered my spirit. Yeah, I'm predicting more high cost spells. Possibly Treasure Cruise. Oh, there's a Baleful Strix, which he doesn't want to run into his Engineered Explosives. Also another good reason not to tap to play it out. Pretty awkward for Tim. I've got him down at 16 now. I can see a Jide in the start in front of my hand. That will eat it to Engineered Explosives. Not bad explosives bait. So I can Green Suns for 3 here. Get something that doesn't die to the Engineered Explosives. I can get a Reclamation Sage to kill the Engineered Explosives. Not great value. From memory, I go with Kitchen Finks. Just strong. I know Tim doesn't play much exile removal, so any edict or destroy effect he has, I'm gonna pull ahead. Excuse me as I swig my delicious drink. Thinking. Yeah, even I didn't know what I was gonna find when I cast that Green Suns. What are my other options? Eternal Witness, get back Spirit of the Labyrinth. Not bad, but lose a bit of tempo compared to Kitchen Finks, which would immediately come back to play if killed, rather than me having to tap out to, or tap 2 mana to play the Spirit after. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, Tim's turn. Untap, draw. He's got Bayou. Did I see an Ancient Den? There's no way that's an Ancient Den. Must be something else. Alright, Bayou. 2 mana. Baleful Strix. Okay, so he just runs it in regardless of having Engineered Explosives already. No doubt he's just gonna not pop it the following turn and block my Kitchen Finks. I mean, it's not like I'm just gonna swing with the Strangleroot Geist and keep my Kitchen Finks back to not trade with Baleful Strix. That would just buy Tim all the time he needs. So, alright, okay, so Tim's no longer representing Engineered Explosives as he taps his single mana. It's Sensei's Divining Top. Okay, so the card I thought was Ancient Den is actually Devour Flesh from Gatecrash, the Edict where I gain life. Okay, 5th land from me to Tim's 4, even though Tim was on the play. Source the player shares your Baleful Strix. So I'm pretty happy to have a target for my removal. Normally against Kurgan, removal is quite dead. Tim tops in response in the hopes of drawing Mental Misstep. I don't see it in that top 3. Source player shares gains Tim 1 life. Yeah, as I was saying, removal is often quite dead against Kurgan. So it's always a struggle or a challenge when building a deck not to include too much removal, or at least have removal which is good against some other card in the Kurgan. Is it blasphemous calling the Kurgan Splash White Kurgan? Doesn't matter. Alright, so here I'm deciding whether to run my Jide into his EE. I deem it wise. Yeah, crack the Arid Mesa. Currently I've got double black, double white. I have double green as well. I probably want the 3rd green in case I draw Scavenging Ooze. I'd say my deck is heaviest green. I do have an Eternal Witness in hand as well. Something to consider. Oh, I can just get a dual land. Do it. Black's definitely the lightest colour in my deck. I don't have any doubles. I've got a Skin Render on the board and that's about as heavy as it gets. Oh, and a Bloodghast. Okay, so that's pretty heavy, but this is game 1, so not to worry. So I put Jide on Kitchen Finks so that if he blows EE in my turn, the pump will still take effect, if you know what I mean. So that was my decision there. However, if he has removal in hand, he'd rather kill the Kitchen Finks than the Strangleroot Geist because he has EE. So I'm kind of tossing up between him not having a rule for the Kitchen Finks versus forcing him to blow the E on his turn so that I don't get value from the Jide pump. So Tim has found his land slowly, but he still missed one and is putting quite far behind. Tim passes the turn. Alright, giving me the chance to pump my kitchen finks. Draw. Alright, bash in. Not going to play a spell pre-combat into a cryptic command or anything like that. So Tim decides to blow the EE before combat damage. I will pump my kitchen finks in response. Tim's like, sure. Alright. Stranglegeist triggers. So trigger on the stack. Yeah, Tim's going to play the Devour Flesh that we saw in his hand earlier before the Stranglegeist comes back, so that Kitchen Finks deals no damage. So, some pretty tight play by Tim there. He didn't spend much time hesitating. Cut, cut. There it is. And I'll gain a bunch of life. Is that 6 toughness on the Kitchen Finks plus it coming back, so I get 8 life in total. So Tim's not racing me anytime soon. He has to grind me out. Bumping and grinding. And now Stranglegeist comes back. Yep, good. Remember that trigger. Although at this level, it's pretty cash at NLG Ringwood Highlanders. You know, generally you can miss it or do a bad sequence of a trigger and you're not going to get stung for it. Not that I did that in this case. Okay, so post-combat, I have to decide if I'm going to run anything into Pernicious Deed or Toxic Deluge from Tim, which he may have. Like, if you follow the flow of the game, he could definitely have it, considering, you know, not many early drops from him. And he wouldn't want to play them into my Persistent Undying dudes respectively, but I'm going for it anyway. Watchwolf and Fleeceman Lion, very similar cards. Watchwolf is hilarious compared to Fleeceman Lion if you just look at the stats, but Watchwolf's still strong enough to get in there in my opinion. It's just kind of a brick wall against the early zoo beaters, and by brick wall I mean only blocking their 1-drops. And not Wild Nectar, which costs half the mana. But it's still quite strong and efficient. Sip, sip. Alright, does he have it? He needs Deed or Toxic Deluge. I remember making this play and thinking of Toxic Deluge, and I'm like, yeah, you know, I'll walk into that. It's only 1 card. But then I realized he also had Deed in his deck, and I was like, oh, it's twice the odds of getting blown out here, but I still go for it. I mean, you've just got to commit sometimes, otherwise they'll bounce you go with Jace or remove one of your guys, and your clock just becomes pathetic, and they, you know, draw out and get you. So you just got to make the call sometimes and commit. I see a mental misstep that he wanted earlier. It's a Mistress Factory and some blue card. No, 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 says Tim. I think it was evasive action. Counter spells, not so good retroactively. And he's got a Garrick, he's got Jace, Architect of Thought. That could help him live for a turn. Okay, here it is, yeah. Jace, Architect of Thought. Up to 5. So currently I've got 3, 6, 8, 11 power on board, so -4, so I can deal 7. So I can one-shot the Jace. I'm probably better off just going to his face, to be honest. Just make the Jace ineffective, like give him 1 brainstorm off it, or whatever you want to call it. Mini Fact or Fiction. I've got Path and Voice of Resurgence in hand. Voice I can just run out into the battlefield because I'll get the token post-combat. I mean, if he sweeps next turn. Do I go all at him? I believe I do. And okay, I decided to Monstrous the Watchwolf. Just gives him like a really hard threat to deal with. And a bit of extra damage there, so I'll actually put him to 3. So he's dead next turn without that sweeper. He's got some pretty serious dig to find it though. Top activation, Jace activation. I kind of love this moment. Due to the style of decks that I tend to play, I'm often in this scenario where it's just like, do you have it or not? Okay, Tim's, well, he's thinking about how deep he can go, what are his outs. He's got the Mistress Factory to block one of my guys. So if you could up the Jace and kill two of my guys who can chump block to survive one more turn. Lots of, looks like I'm just concerned about the camera's focus. It was actually fine, me, so leave it alone, let us watch. Yep. Alright, cool. Nope. The face cams and the actual overhead are a bit out of sync due to their different frame rates. Just ignore that though. When I have the time, I'll sit down and get all this tech stuff sorted out. Mostly I'm just lazy and kind of do what's just good enough. Jeez. Tim's head cam freezing up there. He's going back to his Tom Green style. He used to have a serious Tom Green beard going on, but shaved it short, or all off. It's getting there. Alright, Jace. Sees Ponder. Yeah, those counter spells are useless. He wants to Ponder to find the Deed or the Toxic Deluge. Here it comes. Show me the money. 1, 2, 3. Preordain. Clearly he didn't have it. So shuffle and draw is 1 mana more efficient than Preordain's both to the bottom. We're both rocking the same KMC Hypermat sleeves. They're okay. I found they kind of frill a bit at all the edges, and with my particular shuffling technique, or maybe it's me lending decks to people, I've had a few split sleeves, which is frustrating, but a risk I'm willing to take. Okay, naked draw. it's the mental misstep. All right, Treasure Cruise. Bam. 2 mana. The card is now 1 point, people. So 2 mana, draw 3 cards. Pretty good deal. There's the Deed, but he didn't have the mana to activate it, so that's the game. I'm up 1-0. Alright, so sideboarding. In the heat of the moment, I didn't want to bother us both with writing down sideboards and such. But it looks like Tim's bringing in Crime Punishment. A very solid card, which could probably be main deck. I'm not sure if it kills Planeswalkers or not. And he's going to bring in Scavenging Ooze, probably anticipating me bringing out my removal, so he wants to bring in like a strong threat. And Scavenging Ooze helps against my Kitchen Finks and Strangled Geist, which gave him a bit of troubles this last game. And what do I board in? I take out some removal, I reckon. Probably take out Snuff Out. Doesn't kill Baleful Strix or Creeping Tar Pit. I used to run Thrun like by default. Like, he was really hard for other decks to deal with, but control decks have been packing a lot of edicts the last year or so. Just because True Nemesis is a thing now, so just edicts are a lot more popular, and hence Thrun is nowhere near as strong as it used to be. You almost used to be a silver bullet against control decks, but no longer. Alright, I'm not going to bother talking about sideboards anymore, just get to the game. Present. Cut. 7 cards each. Alright, Tim will be on the play. So, Jace Architect of Thought at the front of Tim's hand. Tim says yes, and I say yes. Alright, Tim leaves a breeding pool tapped. Crack Marsh Flats for turn 1 Arbor Elf. So I can get Savannah or Bayou here and have double green, double black the following turn. That card is plain white. Tim leads with Mountain, Balfour Strix. That's a nice APAC Swamp, I believe. Alright, I think that's the Savannah that I found. Apologies for the glare. I've got a Goyf in hand to follow up the Arbor Elf. Mutavault from me. I've got Mental Misstep, and a Quasaya Primage. So Mental Misstep will be very strong if he happens to land the signature card of Kurgan, which is Ancestral Recall. Tim has a Garrick Relentless and a Counterspell and a Windswept Heath that I can see in his hand, and Chase Architect of Thought. So plenty of strong cards just to get the 4 mana. That Balfour Strix is going to hold off my Tarmogoyf unless I want to side Primage it. Oh, I've got a Thalia. Strong, strong. That's going to keep back his Planeswalkers for an extra turn. Thalia was a sideboard card for sure. I don't main deck it because Zoo is just a very strong tier 1 deck that's highly played, and Thalia is a lot worse for me than it is for Zoo. So I've relegated it to the board despite it being so good against control and combo. Alright, Tim cracks his Wooded Foothills, gets a Tropical Island, wants as much blue as possible, and tap. The first strike on Thalia will be able to attack into the Balfour Strix. Alright, so I've got a choice of Watchwolf, Primage, or Goyf. I suspect I'll play the creature with the most power, although he's representing Counterspell, so maybe I'll play my second highest powered dude, and then if he doesn't counter at the following turn I can remove the Balfour Strix and bash in. Tapping Savannah, untapping it with Arbor Elf. It's not often that you come across those scenarios where Arbor Elf untapping is, you know, less than or not as good as just Llanowar Elves. But occasionally someone will have a Wasteland and can respond to it, so you got to watch out for that, especially if you're shortcutting. So Tim decides to counterspell my Quasaya Primage, which I played pre-combat to get the Exalted trigger, but didn't resolve. Alright, Tim can't cast the Planeswalkers yet. Thalia's still in play. He needs to get to 5 mana if he wants to Garrick Relentless it. So he's probably going to get Tundra here for extra white. Extra blue in his first white source. I'm wrong. Scrubland. Okay, so he wants double black. Unless that's Savannah and I'm tripping balls. Yeah, it's Savannah. You can compare the two. Lingering Souls from Tim. Not bad. He can triple block the Thalia and take down the Thalia if he so desires. If I decide to attack as well. Alright, so I can Council's Judgment, the Balfour Strix, and bash him with Thalia with impunity if I have the 4th land. Or I can just sack the Thalia to kill the Balfour Strix and get in with my beaters the following turn, either Goyf or Watchwolf, whichever one decided to play. No doubt the Goyf, as it will hit harder. We got sorcery, instant land, creature, although that Lingering Size might get flashback next turn. Either way, it's 3 damage or more, which is the same or better than Watchwolf. I play the Goyf pre-combat. I wonder why I did that. Probably in case he had Force of Will or a Counterspell before my Thalia died. Okay, so Thalia goes down. Don't know whether I was right. Thalia would definitely be a thorn at his side for the rest of the game, especially if he wants to cast cantrips. But I guess I'm just happy to get the Baleful Strix out of the way so that my Goyf won't trade. Tough call. Maybe keeping Thalia around was better. I have a Mental Misstep in hand, and it seems like I'm not being able to use this third mana of mine, so Thalia in play wouldn't have affected my Mental Misstep. And Tim is able to further cripple my mana with the Garrett killing my Dryad Arbor. It's quite frustrating. If Tim's already played a land, so yeah, I should be able to take down the Garrick with the Mutavault and the Goyf this turn. Unless Tim has, I don't know, Dismember, or I don't think there's anything else he would play. No one plays Vapor Snag. Yeah. So, I don't know, maybe he could have represented black or white instead of Breeding Pool to present Source of Plowshares, or I don't know. Okay, so now, not hindered by Thalia, you can drop the Garrick for 4 mana. He's got a land in hand, so he's not looking for lands. He's just doing this for value. Scavenging Ooze, Jason Mind Sculptor, or Verdant Catacombs, he reveals. None of those are 1-drops for my Mental Misstep. Scavenging Ooze will be able to eat away at my Goyf's power and toughness if he has time and green mana. He's got plenty of time because my mana is quite stunted, so I haven't been able to mount much pressure, unfortunately for me. 5 lands to 2, never a good sign. My housemates are playing Path of Exile in the land room, if you can hear them yelling out occasionally. I'd like to join them, but it's a really time consuming game, and I'm already playing one of those, Magic the Gathering, so plus work, I just haven't got the time. The mind is willing, but the flesh is weak. What am I doing? Thinking about this J-split still. I'm wondering whether he needs the land, or he's already got a Jace in play, so you can't play Jason Mind Sculptor and Jace Architect of Thought on the same board. So I guess I split it thusly. Tim takes the Ooze. Okay. So that kind of makes me feel like he hasn't got much removal, and the Ooze is a way of dealing with Goyf. In the meantime, chump blockers. Shrinking my Goyf in the process. Planeswalker and Artifact. In the bin, that Goyf's pretty big, although Scavenging Ooze is going to change that. Still no land for me. Goyf bashes in. Jump, yep. And I can't cast the Watch Wolf. I can cast the Spirit of Labyrinth though. Yeah. Architect of Thought is not draw, it's just put into hand. So Spirit can't stop him there. Here comes the Scavenging Ooze, and he has access to 2 green mana, which will be able to eat Garrick and Baleful Strix, or one of my creatures and Baleful Strix, to grow the Ooze bigger than my Goyf. Draw. Still no land. I'd love to Council's Judgment that Ooze and just hope that he doesn't draw removal for the Goyf, but without land I can't do it. Haven't even got the black mana for Bitter Blossom. I still believe Mutavault's worth it. Like, the colours can hurt sometimes, but the man lands are just so strong against Planeswalkers. I've come to that conclusion. Like this board would say otherwise, but I do believe that. I remember another game in this tournament. I think I was playing against Marco Sayers with Time Vault, and yeah, I just had a man land out, and he just never really had the right time to drop his Planeswalker without it just being 0 for 1, and it's really limited his options, and sometimes you may not be able to see it because you don't see them play the Planeswalker, much like Judge's Familiar in the previous standard, or Thalia. You sometimes don't see how powerful they are, unless your opponent like complains about it post game. Alright, Hughes eats a couple things, gets big. I've lost this game, I'd say. I mean, Tim's still got a few cards in hand. I've got a fistful of about 5 cards, maybe 7. I'm not sure. So, if somehow I manage to draw some lands and grind it out, I might be able to get there. It's maybe a life totals discussion there. Tim's go. Draw. Some card. I think it was Treasure Cruise. Must be nice. That's Snuff Out, Dig Through Time, and Island. It's a pretty clear split there. So he's got Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time. They both shrink my Goyf, which is kind of cool. And he's not shrinking his Ooze because there's no creatures in his graveyard. It's pretty hot here in Melbourne. Had to come till January before we started getting these heat waves. Makes me a sweaty mess, and commentaries, I guess it's easier, I'd say. Gives me things to talk about when there's slow play going on. We're not playing that slow. It's alright, especially considering it's untimed. I like how my face is hidden behind the tripod of the camera. Alright, what's he going? Dig Through Time? I'm kind of, what's the word? Just lost interest in this game. I feel like it's all over. Dig Through Time should be the nail in the coffin, but yeah, it's a final and untimed, so I'm still sticking in the game. You never know. So Golgari Charm, I suspect that came in post-board. Pretty good against all my little mana guys, which I'm not sure if I boarded out or kept in. Like, I know he has sweepers, so that would be an incentive for me to board them out, but at the same time, they help me get around conditional counter spells by having more mana, and they're always clamp fuel. I suspect I would have kept them in and taken out removal instead, as removal's a lot worse than the mana guys. End of turn, discarding Ophiomancer. That guy is the bomb, by the way. If you haven't played with him, you should definitely try him out if you're playing black. Most people overlook the fact that he produces a snake each upkeep, so much like Verdant Force, you play him, and then if they don't kill him at the end of your turn, in their upkeep you get the snake. So provided he lives the turn you play him, you'll definitely get like 2 cards out of him. Golgari Charm destroys Spirit of Labyrinth, I believe. Did not neg it, otherwise it would have killed the Lingering Souls. Ancestral Recall meets Mental Misstep. He had to kill the Spirit of Labyrinth first before A-calling. There's Top. He'll only be able to draw an extra card. Oh no, never mind. Spirit's gone. So yeah, as you can see, Spirit does kind of mess with his deck. Top, A-call, Jace, Treasure Cruise. I'm relying heavily on my Hate Bears in this deck to disrupt combo. I'm not playing any discard just because I find Highlander is fast enough, like heavy enough on the mana that discard can put you behind in terms of tempo. Like, you spend 1 mana to deal with their card and they spend 0 mana for the card they lost. Also, it's just a horrible top deck. Standard's a different story. Everyone's playing much slower, clunkier cards, and they always seem to have cards in hand. And due to the mana lands being so poor. Everyone has to coming to play tap lands, and just the format slows right down, giving Thoughtseize enough time to shine. But this is not standard, this is Highlander, and back to the game. Yep. Spirit 11th gets taken away. That was enchantment, boosting the Goyf. Alright, 2 untaps. Spirit's gone, so he can treasure cruise. His graveyard's getting kind of big again. As you can see, playing delve spells and scavenging ooze isn't such a big deal. Ooze can focus down your opponent's graveyard, and you can keep your own graveyard for delve. Yeah, kill me already. Come on. Alright, treasure cruise. I suspect the Kurgan decks will cut A-Call and keep treasure cruise and dig. I suspect that. I'm not sure. I haven't played Kurgan myself, so I don't really know what the deck's about. I feel like Merchant Scroll, which they were all playing, has never been that good anyway. Like, if you've already played the A-Call, Merchant Scroll's pretty bad. You're spending 4 mana to get a counter spell, which is not efficient. It's okay post-board if you have Submerge, like 2 mana to top a guy. Even that's pretty ordinary. Yeah. But if they cut A-Call, then Snapcaster Mage gets a lot worse. Mystical Teachings kind of becomes unplayable. Alright, the game's finally over. And A-Call is good for finding lands early, which they'll lose the ability to if they cut the A-Call. So, I don't know. I can imagine Kurgan decks could cut A-Call, keep the dredge spells, and they'll add, I don't know, maybe you might see a resurgence of the Caracas Venser combo, which is no longer seeing play, but was extremely frustrating back in the day. I don't know if you remember those days. Crickets are starting up in the background, so you might be able to hear those over the mic. So I'm going to play, I can see a Bloodgust in my hand, so sweet, one of my sideboard cards showing up. I don't think Tim has Source of Plowshares, so Bloodgust could be quite strong. I've got the single black, and I can see a Wooded Foothills in my hand there. Oh no. That's a Treetop and a Mishra's Factory. Plenty of man lands. Do I have the second black for the Bloodgust? Yes, I've got Bloodstained Mire. Okay. So, Spell Snare that, Tim. He's actually got Spell Snare in the front of his hand, so he's not going to waste his card on that. Pretty convenient for me. What else he got? Golgari Charm. Also not very good against Bloodgust. And you can't just... Well, I suppose Kurgan can race Bloodgust, but you've got to have the hand for it. Oh, Scavenging Ooze. Okay, so that's a strong answer. Tim will want to time it such that he can kill my Bloodgust and then exile it with Ooze, provided I don't have a fetch land or something to bring back the Bloodgust in response. So Tim's wondering whether to play Ooze or hold up Mana Leak. Is that a... what's that card? It's a Drop of Honey, I think. Nice. Not very good against Bloodgust though. And in it comes for 2. Okay, so Tim's being a bit risky playing out his Ooze to expose it to removal. And it might be his only answer to Bloodgust. We'll see. I haven't got the removal for Ooze. I've got a Jide. Well, that will be removal for Ooze if he doesn't have removal for my Bloodgust the following turn. So I've got Jide, and I've got Treetop and Mishra's Factory. I think I might just have lands. And something else. Surely I've got something but lands and Jide. Anyway, I'm giving it a good think. So Drop of Honey, if you use those who don't know, it's a single mana enchantment, it costs green. And it says at the beginning of your upkeep, so player who controls the drop of honey. Destroy target creature with the lowest power on the battlefield. Which in this case, and if it's tied, you get to choose which one it kills. So in this case, Bloodghast. I'm not sure. So and that could come into effect if Tim's got Golgari Charm, but he hasn't got another green source in his hand. Otherwise, he would have played Golgari Charm and eaten the Bloodghast with the green. So that's convenient for me. Anyway, and then so I, for example, could activate my Mishra's Factory in response to the drop of honey trigger, which targets. And if my Mishra's Factory has a lower power than one of my other creatures, I can fizzle the ability. Drop of honey was pretty heavily played back in the day, I think. I'm not sure what format, but I definitely recognise the card. So Tim bashes in with Ooze. Passes turn. Okay. I untap, draw. And here I have to decide if I can equip Jade and bash in. I mean, the worst he can do is exile my Bloodghast, but I'm taking the gambit that he hasn't got removal. I've drawn a Siege Rhino. I never played that card before. Everyone's raving about it. It's clearly good. Won Patrick Chapin the World Championships, so must be alright. And it's in a few modern decks, so it's definitely Highlander strong. Good enough for Highlander, I should say. Alright, Jade on the Bloodghast. If I can snag that Scavenging Ooze before he can play removal, that's a pretty good deal for me. Bash in. And no removal from Tim. I think he had a counter spell in hand. That must be frustrating. Just all my, oh no, it's Cryptic Command. Never mind. All my threats just seem to be lining up quite well against his hand. So I'm wondering whether to kill the Scavenging Ooze now. He could have nothing. I mean, very macabre, but he's definitely not going to bring that in. In response, he exiles my Bloodstained Eye just cause. So, yeah. He's got a Thragtusk in hand, which would be strong against Bloodghast if he gets to 5 mana. And if he deals with the Jade. So I have no 2 mana play to follow up Bloodghast. Follow up the equip. Alright. Tim's at 4 mana now. 4 mana is where the Kurgan really starts kicking. He's got a Sultai Charm in hand that can kill the Jade. I don't think he wants to kill Bloodghast with it. I haven't seen many people play Bloodghast in Highlander. It's quite strong. If you're playing against a slow deck, which can't just race you back or combo you out before Bloodghast can get there, then yeah, serious threat. It's a Diabolic Edict, terrible against Bloodghast. Alright, Tim passes turn. He didn't have a 4th land. Ouch. Okay. So Tim missing some land drops in this match. Although I did it last game as well, so unfortunately we're both getting a bit magicked. Alright, bashes in. Tim's got Sultai Charm for Jade. Yep. Alright, so if he does get to 5 mana, then Thragtusk should be a good answer to my Bloodghast. This is giving me an opening to resolve the biggest thing I can. Siege Rhino in this case. Boom. 11 plays 20. I've got 2 mana lands in play. I would say I've got this. It's going to take some sick draws from Tim. It's a land. It's a good one. Alright, so what's he going to run? Drop a honey, kills the Bloodghast, just relieve some pressure from him. Gonna hold up Cryptic Command, hoping to snag a strong threat from me. Maybe at this point he just has to hope that I have no more threats. And just tap out for the the highest risk, highest reward play you can. So he's going to drop a honey, not holding up cryptic command. Yeah, okay, I gotta read it. Of course, I knew what the card did by reading it from this match. So, in the background over my shoulder is Jin Poon. He recently won a PPTQ, so we'll be seeing him at regionals. Well, I'll be seeing him at regionals in April this year, along with James Fazzolari, who just won a PPTQ out in the hillside, the weekend just gone. Which, that event was actually on the same day as this tournament, so us three will be duking it out. I'm not sure how big the regionals are going to be. It's all of Asia Pacific, excluding Japan because they have their own region. I'm guessing it could be up to 150 people, so, and lots of them internationals, which would be very exciting. It's going to be a great weekend when it comes to it. Alright, bash in. Tim's going to run Diabolic Edict, not very strong, against Bloodgast, unless he's got something else in his hand I can't see. Golgari Charm, also just a 1-for-1 with Bloodgast, which I bring back with a land drop. And I've got a Restoration in hand, Restoration Angel in hand. I can blink my Siege Gang, my Siege Rhino, for some sweet value. Which land shall I get? Asks Tim. Underground Sea? Yep. Oh, I think I'm going to call it here. To get back in this, Tim really needs to play some exile effect for that Bloodgast. Or kill the Siege Rhino through my Restoration Angel and then drop Thragtusk. Yeah. Just timing didn't quite work out for him. Goodbye Bloodgast. Hello Siege Rhino. Tim falls to 6. And now he's only got 1 mana, so I have the opportunity to drop something strong. Restoration Angel, no doubt. Bam! I can drop Bitter Blossom as well. I've got 6 mana. Unless I want to ensure that Drop of Honey kills Bloodgast by holding up the fetch land, because I can, get the landfall trigger after he's killed my Bloodgast with a removal spell he may or may not have in his hand, like Golgari Charm for example. And that way Drop of Honey will kill. Oh, I've got the manlands as well. Okay, never mind. So I probably should drop the Bitter Blossom there. But, I'm going to hide behind my unfamiliarity with Drop of Honey. Lesson learned. Alright, Tim, what you going to do with all of that junk inside your hand? Almost drew 2 cards there. Bloodgast comes back. I've got 2 untapped fetch lands. Ready for more ghastly blood. Declare attacks. Tap your shit, says Tim. He's on 3, so the manlands are lethal. Or just Treetop Village is lethal anyway. I think he's... Okay, so he's going to bounce the Treetop and tap my guys. It's a textless cryptic command. I remember asking this question, and Cryptic says tap all opponent's creatures and bounce target permanent. So the permanent he's bouncing, which is Treetop Village, if that gets countered, then the tap effect also gets countered. So I think I path my Treetop Village to counter the cryptic command, so my guys don't tap, and then I get him. Yep, that's the match. Alright, hopefully you enjoyed that. It's my current black, white, green list, which doesn't get affected by the points list. It's quite strong. It's won me 2 events so far. Runs a bunch of hate bears. I'm not sure what it's weak against. It's just really a good stuff deck. The Kurgan takes a bit of a hit with the 2 Del spells getting pointed. So, for those of you out there who didn't like Green Suns and Birthing Pod and Skullclane Ball getting points, still strong, guys. I'm playing all 3 of those cards. There's my sideboard there. Thalia, Choke, Bloodsoak Champion, Bloodghast, and Bitter Blossom. And out came Reclamation Sage. Tim doesn't really have any artifacts or enchantments I want to kill. I took out Abrupt Decay, same story. Mother of Runes, weak against these sweepers. Swords to Plowshares, I don't really want to get him to gain life. And Snuff Out, because he just has almost no targets. Oh, he brought in Pack Rat, that's pretty cool. And I think that's a Nature's Chosen or a Deglammer. That green card there, quite strong against my equipment, which is one of the greatest threats against him. Alright, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. Yeah, bye.